In the first two modules, we talked about what real love is, how badly we need it, and how we behave when we don't have it. We behave like drowning people. So, how do we get out of the pool? How do we eliminate getting and protecting behaviors, which is just critical because they destroy us? We began to answer this question in the last module. When we understand the need for real love and why people use getting and protecting behaviors, we can begin to change the way we feel about them, change the way we see them, change the way we react to them. When we see them differently, it changes our judgment, which automatically changes the feeling and reaction. See that? Instead of struggling our whole lives with trying to change our reactions and our feelings, change the judgment. Poof, everything else follows. We can then begin to react with compassion to people, reaching out to drowning people instead of responding with our own getting and protecting behaviors, which only make drowning people drown worse. When people are already drowning and saying, "I don't love you," and we respond to them with, "Well, yeah, and I don't love you either," it doesn't help them. Now, that's an intellectual approach. That's an intellectual way of changing our judgment and changing the way that we respond to people. So with understanding, we change our judgment and everything else changes. But the intellectual step alone is often not enough. Understanding that somebody is drowning is usually not enough if you are also drowning. So if you're drowning and going under, a little understanding isn't enough. You need to get out of the pool. So the second step to eliminate getting and protecting behaviors is obvious when you understand the cause of them, the lack of real love. We simply need to get loved. When you're drowning, you have to get out of the pool, you have to get enough love, you have to get the $20 million so that losing every little $2 here and there doesn't put you under, doesn't make you mad, so to speak. Then there's no need to thrash and kick or fuss over the $2. So we're back to the original question, which is, how do we get out of the pool? As I tell you the truth about me, that creates opportunities for me to feel seen, accepted, and loved by you. Do you see that? As I tell you who I am, I can feel seen by you, I can then feel accepted and loved by you, but none of that is possible until I tell you the truth. That changes everything. Because remember, all of my getting and protecting behaviors are caused by my not feeling loved. If I tell you the truth about me, and you then love me unconditionally for the truth, I'm not drowning anymore. You see that? And I can get that from anybody. As I tell the truth about myself to anybody, my life can change. Let me illustrate the process of how telling the truth about ourselves can lead to being seen and to feeling accepted and loved. Let me use a story to tell you some of what I learned. Once there was a king who had a beautiful kingdom, and you'd have thought he had everything and would have been happy all the time, but he was miserable because he had warts all over his face. When he was a boy, the kids at school made fun of him, so he spent all of his time alone in his room. As he got older, he issued a decree that if anyone made fun of his warts, they'd be killed. That helped, but still he knew that people were laughing at him behind his back. So whenever he did leave his room, he wore a cloth bag over his head. But that was no fun either, so when he heard about a wise man living on top of a nearby mountain, he thought he'd go up there and see what the wise man could do for him. He climbed up the mountain and found the old man sitting under a tree. He took the bag off his head and said, "I've come for your help." The wise man looked at the king thoughtfully for several long moments and finally said, "You have warts on your face." Not what the king had come to hear. He was furious. "No, I don't," he screamed, and he put the bag back over his head. "Well, yes, you do," the wise man said. "I'll have you killed," shouted the king. "Then call your guards." "My guards aren't here." "Then what are you going to do?" The king was furious and frustrated, and he started running down the mountain away from the wise man, which is pretty hard to do with a bag on your head. So he fell repeatedly as he ran, and the wise man followed along behind him. Finally, the king fell down a steep slope and into a lake where he began to drown. The wise man jumped in, pulled the king out, and the king took the bag off his head. He looked at the wise man and said, "You're laughing at me." "No, I'm not laughing." The boys in the village laughed at me, said the king, and my father was ashamed of me. I'm not the boys in the village, the wise man said, and I'm not your father. For the first time in his life, the king felt like someone was looking at him and not laughing or feeling disgusted. Looking at his reflection in the still surface of the lake, he said, I really do have a lot of warts, you know. I know, said the wise man, but I think when I'm with you, I won't wear the bag on my head. Well, good idea, said the wise man. In fact, when you go home, you might even leave the bag here. Yeah, but if I do that, will I find other people like you who won't think I'm disgusting? Sure. And when you do, you won't care when occasionally some other people do laugh. The king left the bag there and went back to his kingdom. And he did find lots of people who didn't mind his warts at all. And with the acceptance of those people, it didn't bother him anymore when occasionally some people did laugh. And for the first time in his life, he was very happy. We all have warts, lots of them. But what kills us is not our warts. What kills us is our fear that other people will see them and not like us, or laugh at us, or be disgusted by us. That possibility is unbearable to us. So what do? We put bags over our heads. We hide our mistakes and flaws. We pretend to be other than who we really are. And the instant we do that, we can't feel loved unconditionally. We are fatally alone and unhappy. We all walk around with bags on our heads. Isn't it time we took them off? Fortunately, delightfully, there's a solution to this terminal misery. We can learn how to take the bags off our heads. As we share with others who we really are, we create opportunities to feel accepted and loved unconditionally. We can learn how to share who we are with others, not all at once, but gradually and sensibly, and create opportunities for other people to accept and love us for who we really are. And that is how we find real love. So, why don't we do it? Why don't we just tell the truth about ourselves to everybody? Because we're terrified. Because we've been trained from birth that telling people who we really are isn't going to be a positive experience. People will be disgusted. People will laugh at us. Every guy here remembers what it was like to be in the 6th grade at recess on the playground. You try that. You go out and when you're in the 6th grade on the playground and say, you know, I'm feeling kind of empty and afraid today. You will be destroyed. You don't admit weaknesses like that. People will eat you up. And so we've learned to hide them. It's just too scary. Now, I'm not advocating that you go out and tell everything about yourself to everybody. It's just too much to do. Too much for you and too much for them. You'll scare them to death. It's something that we need to learn to do in a gradual process. The first thing that we need to understand about telling the truth about ourselves is to tell the truth about us, not everybody else. You listen to people when they get in an animated conversation, the more animated they are, the more absolutely certain you can be that they're talking about somebody else. It doesn't do any good for me to tell the truth about somebody else. I can tell the truth all day about what a horse's butt you are, and I won't feel more loved by anybody else. Do you see that? I have to tell the truth about me. Now, tell the truth about what? If I just tell the truth about my successes, the temptation will be for me to purchase imitation love from you. Do you see that? In the form of praise. So I have to include, at some point, telling the truth about my mistakes. Now, that doesn't mean only my mistakes, but I have to get to that at some point. I was on a radio show once as a guest, and there was a caller who called in and said, you couldn't do this truth-telling thing at work, you'd be killed. And I said, well, let's try it. Tomorrow when you go to work, you'll make a mistake sometime during the day, and somebody will hold you accountable in some way. And your temptation will be to lie. Tell the truth instead. He said, okay, I'll do it. First thing the next morning, there was a staff meeting at 8 o'clock, and he got there at 8:10. And everybody gave him the look. You know the look? And while everybody was spearing him with the look, the first thing that popped into his mind was that age-old lie. The traffic was bad. Now, is the traffic sometimes bad? Sure. Is that the real reason we're late? Now, be careful. What if I said to you, if you're on time to work tomorrow, I'll give you $1 million. Would you be there? Yeah. You wouldn't leave work tonight. So the next time somebody says to you, why were you late? Tell them the truth. You didn't pay me $1 million. We're late to things because we are not sufficiently motivated. We don't think it's sufficiently important to get there on time. I've discovered that now that it's sufficiently important for me to be to things on time, I'm never late. So that kind of makes a lie out of all my old excuses, doesn't it? So he remembered that. He remembered his promise to me, and instead of telling the lie, he told the truth. He stood in front of all those people and he said, I chose to do some things to the last minute. I was irresponsible. I apologize. He said everybody looked at him like he'd dropped his pants, which really he had. Now, you'd think that if you told a room full of people at work that you were irresponsible, you would think they'd like you less. That's why we lie, because we're sure they will. Do you know that most of the time that doesn't happen? He said that after the meeting, co-workers and his boss came up to him and said variations on, we've heard every stupid excuse on the planet for being late. We have never heard anybody tell the truth like you did today, ever. Just flat out say it was my fault. And he noticed for the rest of the day, he was visibly treated differently by the people who were in that room. What was he feeling? He was feeling their unconditional acceptance of him with his flaws. That can only have happened after he told them the truth. Do you see that? Here were all these people who were actually capable of moments of unconditional love, and all those years he'd never known it because he'd never given them a chance. It turns out there are people all around us who actually are dying to love us. We really, at heart, we want to be loving. Why? Because it's the happiest way to live. Really. But most of us never get a chance to. Whoever tells us the truth? Nobody ever starts the process. Somebody has to be first. And I'm here to guarantee you that if you start, you'll be amazed at the results. We need to do that with our partners. Tell the truth about our mistakes. When we get in an argument with a partner, isn't it usually about who's righter? Yeah. Oh, it's always about who's right, or almost always. And of course, when I get in an argument with you about who's righter, the ultimate judge in the universe about rightness and wrongness is me. You thought it was you. Glad to correct that for you. And so we go through little scenarios unconsciously like this. You're 80 points wrong, and out of the goodness of my heart and in all humility, I might be 20 points wrong. So 80 minus 20 equals, you're wrong. That's what we do. Now think about the last time that you took you're wrong and shoved it down somebody's throat and ever had them respond with, well, thank you so much. Never. So when are we going to give up that stupid approach? What if instead we made an absolute commitment to tell the truth about our mistakes only? Do you know that when I insist on telling you about yours, you know what I'm saying? You are such a moron that without me pointing out your mistakes, you'd never see them. Idiot. What if instead I made a promise to myself, and I encourage you to make this one to yourself today, that you only talk about your mistakes. You will discover 3 miracles if you do this. Just miraculous changes. First, the conflicts in your life will virtually vanish. What if I'm in a conversation with you and you made some mistakes, but who cares? That's none of my business. I tell you about what I did wrong. That's pretty much the end of our argument, isn't it? Yeah. Man, it takes all the fuel out of the fire. We're done. Second, I will have created an opportunity for you to see, accept, and love me for who I really am. Oh, that is very cool. Third, as I tell you the truth about my mistakes, I'd say 80 to 90% of the time, in my experience, you will now feel safe enough that you'll also tell me the truth about yours. And now, there's nothing we can't work out. Not a thing. Oh, it's a miracle. There was a man in my life who had been just hateful to myself, to my family, just gone out of his way to be hateful. And of course, I pointed that out to him on more than one occasion. And I was very good at it. You can imagine how well that worked, right? And so we just mostly silently hated each other for years. And I finally went into his office one day and said, I just came to apologize. All these years, I've just been a butt. Instead of being your friend, I've made your life harder, more difficult. I apologize. He burst into tears and apologized for all the things he'd done, which by now I didn't care about. Do you see? Can you imagine how that changed our relationship? Like that. Because I told the truth about my mistakes. As I tell you the truth about mine, see, we're afraid that if we say, I made a mistake, that somehow that makes the other person right. Oh, quit it. Who cares? It's none of your business whether they're right or wrong. Wouldn't you rather have those 3 miracles happen in your life than be right? It really comes down, would you rather be happy or right? Because most of the time you only get to choose one of those. It isn't worth being right. I can just tell you it's not. In addition to telling the truth about our mistakes, we need to tell the truth about our getting and protecting behaviors. That's what destroys us, isn't it? Now, unfortunately, we all have master's degrees in telling the truth about everybody else's getting and protecting behaviors, don't we? I was talking to my wife yesterday, and she's such a witch. And we just love to talk about other people. Now, what do we get out of this? I get to be a victim, and you can be one too, I suppose, and we can both have a little mad thing going on. Nobody's happier. What if instead I do this? What if I say, I was talking to my wife yesterday, and she said something I didn't like, and I got mad like I usually do when people don't do exactly what I want. Whoa. I just told you in real simple language that I was selfish. And that when I'm angry, I'm just being selfish. You don't have to use any weird language, no psychology terms. No, I was just a selfish pig. Now, what if I say that, and you respond with, well, if she did that to me, I'd be mad. Well, clearly you're not in a position to see, accept, and love me, are you? But what have I lost by trying to tell him the truth? Nothing. Not a thing. I'll just go right back to talking about football and the weather, and we'll have the same superficial relationship we always had. Big deal. I didn't lose anything. So now what? Next. I tell the truth about myself to the next person. And the next one. You won't do that more than 2-3 times before you'll run into somebody who will say, whoa, cool. I've never heard anybody take responsibility for their anger like that before. In the moment that he says to me, whoa, what's he doing? Unconditionally accepting me. Do you see that? We'll have a bond like we've known each other our whole lives, like that. Now, how did I find you? Ad in the paper? By telling you the truth. That's all. That's how hard it is to find loving people. Just tell the truth. You know that movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner? Remember, and he's out there in the cornfield, and he hears that voice, build it, and he will come. Remember? You tell the truth, and they will come. You will find loving people. But you keep using getting and protecting behaviors, you ain't going to find them. But they are out there. And it's really fun when you start that process. But in the beginning, this telling the truth process is pretty scary to us because we just haven't done it much. And in the beginning, the only way to get over our fear is to simply exercise faith in doing it. Faith doesn't mean sitting on our backsides and hoping a thing. Faith means taking action. It means moving forward where we can't see the results. That's what faith means. It's moving. So when I pick an individual person and tell you the truth about me, I don't know whether you'll accept me. You see? That's faith. You can sit on the ground and talk about the strength of silk forever. That's believing. But when you weave silk into ropes and a sheet and jump out of a plane at 15,000 feet, that's faith. That's the difference. The only way you're going to find people who can accept and love you is to simply do it. But I understand, in the beginning, it is a little scary. We're afraid of the risk of what people will do. So let's examine the risk. What do we really have to lose? If I don't tell you the truth about myself, what are the odds I'll ever feel unconditionally loved by you? 0. All right, well, so let's say that I do tell you the truth. And let's make it real negative. Let's say there's only a 30% chance that you'll love me. Isn't that a lot more than 0? Yeah, it is. The only way you can really lose is to not be truthful. Whereas if you tell the truth, do you know that if I tell you the truth and you say, I hate your guts, well then, gosh, I won't look for a Christmas card from you, huh? But you can't take love from me. Do you see that? If I tell you the truth and you hate me, the only thing I lost was the illusion that you might. See that? I just lost an illusion. So? But you can only win as you actually do it. It's like a farmer going out into a field. He has a bag of seeds over his shoulder, and he pulls a seed out of the bag, and he says, that might not grow. I hate to take the risk of it not growing, so I'll put it in my pocket. He pulls another seed out. Oh, that might not grow either, so he puts that in his pocket. What kind of crop's he going to get? Pocket full of seeds, right? There's only one way for him to find out which seeds are going to grow. What is it? He's got to plant them. Just plant them all. And if he plants them all, and 3 months from now he has a field full of waving grain, do you think he's going to care that some of those seeds didn't grow? No. It doesn't matter how many people don't love you. It matters that you tell the truth and find the people who do. Isn't that cool? As far as I know, there are probably 1.3 billion people in China that don't love me. It doesn't keep me up at night. Because I have been truthful with enough people that I now have hundreds of people that do. Oh, is it ever worth the risk? My daughter has a dog named Molly. She's a golden retriever. And as far as we can tell, Molly has 2 brain cells. And they're not connected. One for eating, one for retrieving. You go outside and she's just a lump. She doesn't move until you pick up a tennis ball. And then it's just like you flicked a switch. Throw the ball. Throw the ball. And the kids love to tease her, you know. She'll follow the ball anywhere. You throw the ball and she tears off like a shot to get this ball. Comes ripping back to you and you can almost hear her saying, throw the ball again, throw the ball again. And you go to take the ball from her and she won't let you have it. So you have to get this dog in a headlock, tear the ball from her throat, and she says, oh, thank you. And you could do that all day long. You'd wear out first. Isn't it incredibly ironic that the thing she wants most, which is for you to throw the ball, she makes impossible by not letting it go? Which is just what we do. We want more than anything else for people to unconditionally love us. And yet, we won't let go of the ball. We won't let them see us because we're afraid they won't love us. Oh, now we just made it impossible for them to ever see us. Do you see? The only way to ever feel loved is to plant the seeds, is to let go of the ball. And then miracles will happen. Not with every single person, but you don't care. You don't care that every single person loves you. Enough miracles will happen that you will feel loved and will be happy. So it's all about having this faith. Now people come to me sometimes and they say, oh, that just seems so hard. You know, being truthful. And I say, harder than lying and being angry and acting like a victim and clinging, and harder than that? Nah, those are the hard things in life. Telling the truth by comparison, although it is a little different, sure, and a little scary in the beginning. Yeah, I got it, but it isn't harder. It's that other stuff that's tough. And you know, ironically, when we talk about faith and people say, oh, I don't know if I've got what it takes to have faith, with our every breath, we demonstrate that we have faith in something. Do you know that? Faith is what motivates every action that we take. So when you, for example, sit on your backside and do absolutely nothing, you're showing that you have a faith that sitting on your backside and doing nothing will somehow produce happiness. Really? We always, with our behavior, demonstrate that we do have faith in something. So why not have faith in something smart? Do you see? Why not pick something smarter than laziness and lying and getting and protecting behaviors? So let's consider having faith in 4 things. Faith in the truth, faith in the power of real love, faith in our partner, and when I say partner, I don't just mean husband or wife. A partner is anybody that we're interacting with, even for 2 minutes, and faith in God. So first, faith in the truth and in the power of love. This isn't complicated. We can have faith in these eternal principles that have been proven over countless millennia to be effective, or we can have faith in our own ability to control things with our getting and protecting behaviors. Which makes more sense to you? See how silly it is that we keep having faith in our getting and protecting behaviors and in our controlling? Stupid, really. Much better to have faith in principles that have been proven over countless millennia. Second, faith in our partner. Now, I'm not suggesting that we have faith that our partner will be loving or will do the right thing, because a lot of times they won't. What I'm suggesting is that we have faith that our partner is simply doing their best. Do you believe that? Now think about it. Is there anybody who's in the water thrashing and going under who chooses that versus being on the land? No. Nobody chooses misery over happiness if they see a choice. People are really doing the best they can do. If I really believed that of you, that when you're having a hard time, you're just drowning, wow, that'd pretty much change my outlook on you, wouldn't it? I'd never be angry at you. I'd never be critical. I'd never attack you. It would just make all the difference in the world. That's what I mean by have faith in our partner. People really are struggling as hard as they can. Imagine being at, and I did this once. You ever been to a Special Olympics? You go to a Special Olympics and you know, they have these races with kids with Down syndrome and, you know, all kinds of problems. And, you know, they line these kids all up, you know, and they shoot the gun and go. And it's not like a regular race. I mean, some kids shoot off to the finish line, and some kids dawdle and piddle around and go to the infield, and you know, they'll do a 100-yard dash in, you know, 6 hours. These kids are absolutely doing their best. And I was at one where here was this kid who had cerebral palsy. You ever know kids who have that? He was doing absolutely the best he could. Some of my favorite relationships have been with people who have that. And so he is stumbling along, and he's probably 20 yards from the finish line. And he stumbles and falls and just buries his head, you know, in the track. Now, can you imagine what it would be like to have somebody in the audience stand up and say, "Retard. Get up, retard, finish the race." Doesn't the thought of that just horrify you? Why? Because that kid was doing his absolute best, yeah? And the fact that he would even try the race and finish it is a victory, isn't it? Well, don't you believe everybody else is doing their best too? Why would that only be limited to somebody with cerebral palsy? Only people with handicaps are doing their best? You got to be kidding. So are we. And we all, almost all of us, are struggling with the worst handicap of all, which is to not feel unconditionally loved. Get it? So attacking people for not doing as well as we think they should be doing, kind of stupid. Last, faith in God. Many, many people have a very difficult relationship with God, yeah? Angry, distant, no relationship at all, whatever. And I've discovered, at least in my own experience, what I believe is the reason for that. There are two most common words that we use to describe God. The first is love. God is love. It even says that. Well, if all we've ever known in our lives is the conditional love, the imitation love, that we have to purchase, that is fleeting, that we have to get more and more of, that is a complete waste of our time and will never make us happy, and then somebody comes along and says, oh, God is more of that. Gee, I wonder why somebody wouldn't be interested in pursuing that path. What do you think? Yeah. The second word that is used to describe God most often is Father. There's a whole lot of us that don't want a bigger version of our Father. A whole lot of us don't want a bigger version of the conditional love that we got from our earthly fathers. And that easily explains why people have a difficult relationship with God. So now imagine you're an alien. You come from another planet, and you come here and you've never seen water. And I'm going to try to describe to you what an ocean is. That'd be tough. But if I can stick your hand in one bucket of water, I can now say, it's 1 billion times that. Oh, okay. Now you could at least begin to imagine what an ocean is, couldn't you? Yeah. Most people have never experienced unconditional love. If we can, as mortal, stupid, frail, flawed human beings, unconditionally love somebody who's never felt it, and then say, oh, God is 1 million times or 1 billion or whatever you like, times that. Oh, well, gosh, I get it now. See the difference you can make? And that's what gives people a basis for having faith in God. And once you get to that point, you tap into a source a whole lot bigger than the people around you. It makes an enormous difference in people's lives. So in order to heighten your faith in the process of telling the truth, let's illustrate how that would look. I'd like you to meet Holly, who was brave enough to share with us her interaction with her husband. You were going to describe an instance where you'd had an argument with your husband.
Mm-hmm. He was upset that he thought I was driving the car too much. And so we got into an argument about how he thought I was going for joy rides, I guess. And then it came down to that I was going to put my children into a charter school, that I had to drive away from our home in order to do this. And he adamantly put down his foot and said, there's no way. And I was furious because he was basing my children's future and their education on mileage on the car. And so it got pretty ugly.
So you were angry at him because?
Because he had no understanding of how wonderful I was as a mother to drive my children a little extra length of time to give them a better education.
So as soon as you say, you notice I said, you're angry at him because, and the next word out of your mouth, which is the next word out of almost everybody's mouth, was
what he did.
He. Or him.
Right.
And we almost all do that.
Right.
In which case now you're an absolute prisoner of whatever he does.
Okay.
He can irritate you whenever he wishes. Now he may enjoy
and
that.
He does. No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So after what you've learned here today, anger is what? What kind of behavior? We talked about a classification of behaviors.
Right.
Which kind?
Anger is my attacking him.
Yeah. And attacking is a getting and protecting behavior,
right?
And we only use getting and protecting behaviors if we feel unloved. If we feel empty and afraid.
Right.
So the real reason that you felt angry was? Hard to say, isn't it?
It is, because all I can think of is I was angry
at him. And see, you are beautifully illustrating why people stay in the same arguments for years. People get divorced over these arguments because they keep happening over and over again and they can't get out of them. Right. Why are you angry? Because of him. No. If you were perfectly loving.
Okay, perfectly loving. I love him. Okay.
Buddha and Gandhi together.
Okay.
You were perfectly loving, and he came to you and he were irritated. How would you see him?
Drowning.
You'd see that he was drowning. And you would listen to him until he was completely done and understand what was really bothering him.
Right.
And he'd quit fighting you. But you can't do that because you're drowning too.
Yeah.
So the real problem here is that you don't feel loved enough to listen to him.
Okay.
The instant you become angry at him, what does he hear?
I don't love you.
Uh-huh. And then I'm just guessing that he fights you more.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'll bet. And then what it really turns into is, I don't love you, yeah, but I don't love you more.
That's right.
And that, I'll bet that works out poorly.
Oh,
Doesn't
then I
it?
don't love him more.
Yeah,
More.
right. So the real problem is you don't feel loved enough, and so the real solution is, what do you need?
I need love.
You need to feel loved. That can only happen as you tell the truth about you.
Okay.
That's all. And you need to get loved by who? While he's angry, are you going to get loved by him?
No.
No, not a chance. If you tell the truth about yourself to anybody, you'll feel more loved. Like,
Oh, I don't have to tell him.
oh no. No. In fact, that's way too hard in the beginning.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I want to be right and he wants to be right in the argument.
Yeah, right while you're in the middle of an
Yeah.
argument, it's really hard to say, oh, sweetie, you're right. No, that's
Right.
a killer.
Okay.
So you call somebody up on the phone,
Okay.
or we're just going to do it right here.
All right.
Because if you get loved by anybody, your need to be right will change.
Okay.
Now, how cool is that?
That's really cool.
So if you go on and on and on and tell me all the things he did, which are probably all true. In fact, we could just shortcut the whole thing and
Okay.
we could shortcut the whole thing and just say, he's a butt.
Okay. That's how I felt.
Yeah. And no matter, you liking this?
At the time.
And no matter how many other things you added to that, it would just be confirmation of that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So see how going into all the details only is an attempt to make you righter. It doesn't make you feel more loved, which is the real goal. You could be right forever, and I'll bet you've succeeded in your arguments sometimes in being right, and did you end up feeling happy?
No.
Oh, no. Mm-mm. So we're going to practice that.
Okay.
You're going to practice telling the truth about you.
Okay.
Ooh, it's a relief.
That was kind of scary though.
This is easy. So I would need to see who you really are.
Okay.
So what did you do?
What did I do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm so perfect, it's really hard. I indeed did drive the car in the moments before that argument, probably more than normal, and ran some errands that didn't need to be run. Maybe could have grouped. This is kind of scary. You kind of want to cry, huh?
Go
Sorry.
for it.
Well, because I
Mike.
suddenly realized maybe he
Way up.
wasn't such a big butt.
So your real goals here are to find real love for yourself and to see him more clearly so that you can be more loving toward him. Wouldn't that change
Yeah.
everything?
Everything.
Oh, it really would.
Yeah.
Whereas being right, no yield.
Right.
So it's always about real love. And you can compartmentalize it in two ways if you want. Get more for you so that you can then, second part, share more with him.
Right.
Make it clear?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's do the first step.
Okay.
How do we find more real love for you?
By me being honest.
Yeah. As you tell the truth about yourself, you'll be able to get more unconditional love. And then we go to the next step, which is to become more loving toward him. And how does that happen? Remember, first there's the intellectual step,
Right.
which is seeing him clearly.
Right.
And in this case, seeing him clearly would mean what you already did, which is he's drowning.
He's drowning.
The second part of you becoming more loving is getting more real love, which was the first step.
Being truthful.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So it really all boils down, all of it, to telling the truth about yourself and getting more real love, and the rest of it flows from there. Pretty simple, huh?
Yes.
Now
Sounds
we're
like
going to
it.
make it even easier so that everybody can remember. It all boils down to remembering 5 words. It will change every conversation you ever have with him or with anybody else about him. And the 5 words are these. What, why, what. Pretty easy, huh?
Yeah.
Because really 4 of them are the same word.
Yeah.
You noticed?
I did.
And the Y's in the middle.
Yeah,
So
perfectly.
this is pretty easy. What, why, what. The first what is, what did they or what did he do? So first, tell me, what did he do?
What did he do? He got mad at me.
Yeah. Was he loving?
No.
No. He was unloving and attacking and not kind and maybe mean-spirited, and
Yeah.
now we're done.
Okay.
See how easy that
It
was?
was.
And see now, going into all the details, absolute worthless.
Yeah.
So we got that part.
Got it.
Next. What did you do?
I did indeed do what he accused me of. I drove the car a little too much.
Although,
Is that what you wanted?
no, it's okay.
Oh.
No, it's okay. It's just that the,
I attacked him
the
back.
the real essence of the what is not the details. It's always what does the what mean? So, you, for example, with his behavior, you could have gone on and on. He did this and that and blah.
Right.
The
Oh,
meaning is
he
he was unloving and attacking.
What
So-
did I do?
Yeah.
I was unloving and attacking.
Yes. Right.
I didn't want to admit that. I wanted
Do
a
you-
few details.
Do you see how you talking about did you drive the car, did you blah blah? Who cares?
Details.
Details.
Okay, right.
Meaningless. So he was unloving, and you responded brilliantly with being probably just as unloving.
Absolutely.
So we have 2 people competing to be the most unloving. How'd that work out?
Not well.
Never does.
No.
No. So we've got that. Now, notice how easy this was?
Yeah. Just unloving if you're.
It's just
yeah.
the truth. See? Nobody gets beaten. You're just telling the truth about it.
Okay.
Easy. Now, complete freedom. Now you get to choose differently.
All right.
Now, why? Why was he drowning?
Because he didn't feel loved from me.
Yep. And I'm guessing you're not the only person in his life that he hasn't felt loved by.
I'm sure you're right. Absolutely.
So I'll bet he came to your marriage with several thousand unloving interactions with his parents and others. So he came to you wounded and bleeding and needing to be loved, and then you reached out and just picked the scabs.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me sound really awful.
Well, you know, it doesn't make you awful. It just made you unwittingly unkind.
Yeah.
You had no idea what you were doing until today. Did you?
No.
Well, then I guess we don't need to beat you, do we?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I know better now.
Yeah. Now you know why he behaved the way you did, the way he did. Why did you behave the way you did?
Same reasons. Because I came with all my unloved baggage as well.
Empty and afraid for a lifetime. And then he comes in and attacks you while you're empty and afraid. Are you kidding? Your response was predictable.
Wow.
How nice to know this.
Very enlightening.
Then we get to the next what,
Okay.
which would be, now that you know what you know, what could you do differently the next time?
Instead of attacking him.
Okay, so I'll be him.
Okay.
You drive the dang car too much. Drive it all over the place. Look at the mileage and the gas and blah, 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 blah.
You're right. What can I do to change that? Maybe?
I can't think of anything to say. You see that? In fact, even if he were...
He still
not
wants
talking
to be
to you.
right.
even if you weren't wrong, you don't have to say you're wrong if you're not.
Right.
But you could at least say, well, you know, I had never seen that.
Okay.
Help me see how we could do this differently. Do you see?
Yeah.
When there's, see, the cause of conflict, people think conflict is caused by differences of opinion. That's not true. Conflict is caused by emptiness and fear.
Oh,
Conflict is caused by getting and protecting behaviors, isn't it?
yeah.
You take those away, what is there that we can't work out?
Nothing.
Nothing. My wife and I have differing opinions about lots of things. We do lots of things differently.
Yeah.
But if there's no emptiness and fear, we can work out anything.
Right.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Now, when you say that to him, he may be able to think of something else to say. He might even be mad in the next response.
Okay.
He might. Just because you're not mad once doesn't mean he won't come back with more.
Okay.
You just keep responding with, well, show me more.
Okay.
And keep talking about it. And you keep working it out until you come up with something you both like.
Okay.
You don't keep talking till you give up. Being loving doesn't mean giving somebody everything they want. Being loving doesn't mean being a doormat. That doesn't mean going, okay, every time somebody says they want something.
Yeah.
That's not loving.
Mm-mm.
That's just weak. But when you're not angry and when you're not empty and afraid, we're not using getting and protecting behaviors, he won't be able to keep fighting you. You take all the fuel out of the fire.
Okay.
Pretty fun, huh?
Yeah.
Now, the last what.
Okay.
So now we talked about what you could do differently the next time.
Mm-hmm.
What could you do now? Because there isn't always something, but what could you do now to make the ugly conversation you had about the mileage, what could you do now to make that different?
I could indeed drive less, organize my time better. Show him that.
But pretend
Okay.
I'm him. Have a conversation with
Okay.
him. How could you come and talk to me about the
Okay,
issue?
we're kind of still in the argument.
No.
No,
Now,
okay.
remember, now it's what could you do about the past argument? So, for example, let me give you an
Okay.
illustration because
I'm kinda
being
lost.
confusing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's my fault. So, see, I could come to you if I were the one who was maybe driving too much,
Okay.
and say, the last time that you and I talked about the driving, I didn't listen to you a bit. I was way more interested in defending myself and being right than listening to what you were saying. I wasn't loving you. I wasn't paying attention. So would you be willing to have that conversation with me again, but this time I'd like to really listen to you?
Wow. If you said that to me, I would say, great.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll have the conversation.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that the conversation will go perfectly,
Right?
but boy, will it go differently.
Oh, I'm sure it would.
Cool,
If
huh?
you approach me like that, it'd go way different.
Yeah. Now, notice, in this conversation, you have admitted that you were selfish, unloving, attacking, hurtful to your husband. Whoa.
I know, I was wrong.
And you actually feel more at ease now than you did before.
I do.
Isn't that amazing? You know what the difference is?
You loved me unconditionally, even though I told you all those bad things.
Right.
I revealed all that to you.
Right. And I'm not unique. You feel different, you feel less defensive because you feel loved, and you never met me before today. You can recreate this with hundreds of people. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Now see, notice, it's nothing dramatic. You don't have to spill your whole life to somebody. You see? Do you all get that? I'm not talking about divulging your secrets from the past. You don't need to start right off by saying, yes, I dress like a woman. No, you don't want to dredge up the shameful thing. You just start off with the mistakes you made yesterday. Simple stuff. That will change the whole deal. Just little stuff. Because it's the little stuff that makes all the difference. It's these little arguments that kill a relationship. They kill the joy in it. Yeah, you can survive in a relationship with these kind of arguments, but you don't get the real fullness of joy that you're looking for.
It's true.
Yeah, pretty fun, huh?
Oh, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, well, you're wonderful. So now, go home and try that.
I will.
You'll love it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's look now at another example of someone telling the truth about himself. In this case, Eric, father of 4 children. This is Eric the Brave, who's going to share with us some interactions he's had with his 12-year-old daughter, right?
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, basically, she has a problem with putting CDs, DVDs away. Like when she uses the computer, the case will be sitting right there on top of the computer, but she'll just turn it upside down and leave it on the desk or something.
She doesn't put
DVDs.
things back where she found them?
Well, they're not necessarily where she found them. You know, it would be
doesn't
someone,
put them back
someone
where they
else's
belong,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah, but you know, it's either irresponsibility or just being lazy or something.
And I'm guessing she does this fairly often.
Yeah.
And then you become, how do you respond to that?
I just remind her of it, and sometimes I get pretty frustrated
Mm-hmm.
when it happens several times in a short period. But, when it's a borrowed DVD or something, then I make sure that
What would another word for frustrated be?
annoyed,
You're getting close.
angry.
Angry?
What you're looking for?
It's real common when we describe our behavior to sugarcoat anger. I wasn't really angry, I was just annoyed. Oh, that's a lot better. When you become irritated, what does she hear?
Probably, I don't love you.
Oh, no kidding. You ever looked at her face when you get irritated at her?
Yeah.
Usually when we're in the middle of being irritated, we don't notice other people's reactions, but try it sometime. Oh boy, it's just like we are cutting off their arms. It's just intensely painful. So let's follow the example that we used earlier of
Okay.
what, why, what. What does she do?
She either tunes me out, like she doesn't want to be there,
Mm-hmm.
or she just. Oh, you mean like what did she do to bring this on?
Yeah, or
Okay.
she's selfish and
she-
thoughtless with her behavior, and then when
Yeah,
you try to
did
talk to
something
her, she
irresponsible.
tunes you out, which is which getting and protecting behavior?
Running.
Running. Yeah, she runs from you. She doesn't want to hear, surprise, I don't love you.
Right.
Shocking.
Right.
Yeah. So it's real clear that she's being selfish, which for a 12-year-old, surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hard thing for us to get as parents that love is a one-way deal. Us loving
Right.
them.
Right.
Then when they start to inconvenience us, because that's really what it's about, then we real easily, when we're already empty ourselves, how did you respond? What was the what that you did?
Well, I guess in our conversation, I got angry
Yeah, you attacked her.
or lectured,
Yeah,
which is
yeah. And I'm not trying to make you wrong. I'm trying to give you the freedom to change your behavior. So like when you say, like when I was asking you to describe her behavior, you went into enormous detail about how she was wrong. Did you notice?
right.
Well, it was a borrowed CD. So see, that would justify being angry. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. And then when it comes to describing your behavior, you sugarcoat it. I was just annoyed or just frustrated. That is so natural for us to justify our own behavior, but it keeps us absolutely stuck because then we can keep making it about somebody else. So when you lecture her with the slightest impatience in your voice, I mean the least bit of sternness, all she can hear is, I don't love you.
Okay.
That's all she hears. And that's why she tunes you out. It's the ultimate irony that we say to our children, how many times have I told you, right?
Because they don't hear it.
And the reason they don't hear it is because we
You keep
made
telling
them deaf. Really.
Right.
Because the instant we're irritated at them, we shut them off. You see that? And so they don't hear a word we say. The
Right.
answer to our question is us. So now, why does she tune you out? This is the why of what.
Because she doesn't want to hear that I don't love her.
Right. And you don't mean to tell her that. But you are. You are telling her that. Why are you?
Because I want her to be
Different.
responsible.
You want her to
Different.
be different.
Okay.
You don't feel yet loved enough yourself to be able to completely accept her as she is. And in that, you are like 99.8% of us. There are, honest to goodness, less than 1% of parents, and I've seen a few thousand, who are loving enough to correct a child without impatience. So you are so far from unique, don't spend 2 seconds feeling guilty. None. Make sense?
Yeah.
And besides, I bet it's what you saw as a kid. Impatience and irritation. We all did. We accept it as normal. And yeah, it's average, but it's not okay. It's devastating.
Right.
So, what could you do differently the next time?
Well,
That could be really hard to formulate.
I still want to teach her, but I don't want to.
Good for you.
I want to do it lovingly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What children need is to be loved and taught, and then loved and taught, and then loved and taught again. And you can never separate loving and teaching, ever. The instant that we're angry, we're not loving them. So every parent has to learn this rule. Never, ever. Every parenting book teaches us the best ways to express anger at our children. They all teach us that. I've read tons of them. They're all wrong. There is no way. No parent can ever, in a loving way, express disappointment or anger at a child. Never.
express love.
Always loving. No disappointment. Now, does that mean we shouldn't correct them? Oh, no. Heavens, no. If I'm correcting you at work over a mistake that you've made, do I need to be angry at you to get the point across?
No.
Is your child more retarded than you? You see the point?
Hope not.
Do you see the point? If I have a task that I want you to learn, would you learn better while I was teaching you like this, or would you learn better while I was punching you in the face?
Talking.
Duh.
Loving.
Duh.
Gotcha.
And yet we as parents think, well, if teaching them like this doesn't work, maybe if I punch them emotionally, that'll work better. No, it works worse. Yeah. Then when that doesn't work, we think, well, then maybe if I punch them harder, that will work. That doesn't work either. We don't have the experience with unconditional love enough to know what loving and teaching looks like. So what she needs to hear is, over and over, you need to go put the DVD in the case. Now, if she doesn't respond to simple instruction and loving with no impatience, say for 6 or 8 times, which she probably won't. No, it'll probably fail. I'm just telling you. I mean, I'm a practical guy. I've raised 7 children. So when that doesn't work, then you move to consequences. Now, we get really confused as parents about consequences. What's the difference between a consequence and a punishment? One word. Anger. The instant you're angry, it's not a consequence anymore, it's punishment. And the child learns nothing. And the purpose of a consequence is to make the wrong choice sufficiently inconvenient that they'll choose the right one. That's all. Just inconvenient. In this state, if you're speeding and the highway patrolman pulls you over, does he ever come up to the car and go, I am so mad that you're speeding? Does he ever have a fit? No, in fact, they're bored. It's like, license, and they write it out, and he just hands you the ticket, knowing that if you get enough of those, that will be inconvenient enough that you'll quit it. No joke. That's what teaches. So with children, we do the same thing. And so you say to her, I'm not going to bother you about doing the DVDs or the CDs anymore. I'm really not. And I've been a complete butt about doing this, being irritated at you. So here's what we're going to do. If you leave the CDs out of the case anymore, there will be no yelling, there will be no nothing. But you won't be able to use the CDs or the DVDs or the player or the anything for a month or a week or whatever you feel like. And I won't be mad. I won't be nothing. I've done this with all my kids. With our kids, we made it really simple. You can have your jobs done by 6 o'clock, dinner time, or you can eat. If you have your jobs done by 6 o'clock, you can eat. And if you choose not to do your jobs, you are also choosing not to eat, and I don't care either way. And sure enough, every child
Sounds
tries it
familiar.
once. Every child shows up at the dinner table, and you don't have to say anything because the other children are the jobs police. And then, you know how many times they have to miss dinner before they get it? Once. And they just learn. They learn that not doing the right thing is really inconvenient, and then they start doing it. But the instant you're irritated, or even if you say, now see, I told you this would happen if you, the lesson's gone. Now all they respond to is the I don't love you. And you're doomed.
Okay.
And I'll bet you've already seen that in her. That resistance, that withdrawal, that, like you were saying, kind of not being there.
Well, we do have a system sort of like what you're saying. And I told her, each time you leave one out and I put it away for you, it's 100 points. And she's just like, fine.
She needs a consequence right then.
Yeah. So.
Right then, but there can't be
Something.
any irritation. She just learns from the consequences. If you want to do without the CDs, not a problem. I've seen parents go up to consequences as big as putting their children in juvenile detention. You don't like keeping the rules at home? Hey, maybe the rules in the juvenile detention center will be easier.
Kids' choice.
Yeah, and you don't get mad. And sure enough, the kids end up feeling loved, and then they make the right choices. Loved children do better than unloved children every time. So the last what? Now what could you do about it now? What could you say to her?
Agree on a consequence.
Beautiful.
Go talk about it and
Beautiful.
just say I'm not going to get angry or anything.
Beautiful.
Just going to, when it happens again, this will be the consequence.
Now, if you want to blow her over, that will do wonders. If you say, I'm never going to get angry again. If you want to blow her over, you say, I've been a real butt to get angry at you.
Right.
I haven't been loving to do that. That just stuns children. Because all you're doing is telling them the truth. They're relieved to finally hear it.
Yeah.
They've known all along they didn't feel loved when you talk to them like that. Now they're finally hearing the truth of it. You know what's the most confusing thing on the planet for a kid? To hear this. I'm so mad at you, but I love you. And they're going, they feel like a ping pong ball. It's very confusing to them. Cool, huh?
Yeah.
And what a relief it will be for you as a parent. There's no more frustration and struggling and pushing and manipulating, no punishing. It's all gone. You just love them and teach them.
Follow through on the consequences without any emotion at that point.
You follow through on them absolutely consistently, and you even say, hey, I'm sorry, that this is happening, but, we agreed on that. You're done. Fun,
Okay.
huh? I mean, look what a relief.
Sounds easy.
It's way easier.
It's gotta be
Than the
sound
other way.
easier than it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, what you saw these people do up here with me, you can do yourselves anywhere. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where your lives either change or they don't. If you're willing to exercise the faith to share who you are with other people, you will find real love. If you don't, you probably won't. Now, as you begin the process of telling the truth about yourselves with people, I have some recommendations. First, do this gradually. There's no hurry. Don't vomit your life on the next person you see. It's too much. And it should be gradual and natural. Talk about the mistake you made yesterday. I was talking to my wife, husband, child, and dang it, I was selfish again. That's it. That's all there is to it. You do that, you will find people who will say, wow, that is really cool. That's an example of telling the truth. Not the really weirdo stuff. Just simple mistakes. And you will find loving friends. Next, do this everywhere you can. Tell the truth about yourself on the phone, in person, everywhere. There are so many opportunities. I tell parents that when you get angry at a child, you shut up and you immediately call somebody that you can tell the truth to and feel loved by. That's how you change the situation. You get on the phone and you say, you don't have to be all gentle and loving on the phone with another adult. You get on the phone and you say, I want to kill this child. And if you're talking to somebody who has any experience in real love, then what do you think they're going to do? They're going to take you through what, why, what. Do you see? Oh, so you're expecting your child to make you happy or whatever, see? They'll laugh with you. They might laugh at you. Until you see that, we're expecting our children to make our lives more convenient, or that we're being selfish, or we're whatever. As they see you and accept you, that will change everything. It's not a clever psychological technique. We don't have to be practicing therapists. We just have to be caring friends. That's all it takes. Do you see that? You will all, with practice, be able to do this. What, why, what. That ain't complicated. Really isn't. You can also practice telling the truth about yourself in loving groups, where you actually get together with people. This is phenomenally powerful. Where you, for example, all it takes is one person who says to a handful of friends, we're going to meet at my house on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and we're going to practice telling the truth about ourselves and just practice being accepting. We might read the Real Love book together. We might read the book called Real Love for Wise Men and Women together. This isn't therapy. It's not a support group in the usual sense of the word. It's people practicing loving, which is what we're here for. And it's a very natural and easy thing to do. And again, it doesn't become bizarre and if you stay away from talking about lurid, crazy details from your past. You want to do that? Talk to your therapist. Or talk to somebody who's been doing real love for a very long time and would be able to function more like a therapist with you. But within a loving group, you just want to talk about your mistakes of yesterday, last week. Easy stuff, okay? But loving groups are very powerful, and they exist all over the country and are changing people's lives. Telling the truth about ourselves in the beginning can be intimidating because it's new. In fact, telling the truth is so uncommon for many of us that it's like learning a foreign language. No joke. You notice that with both of these people, and I'm not picking on them, that as I asked them to tell the truth about what they did, their first reaction was to describe the other person or to describe how they didn't quite do the wrong thing. Well, gosh, we all do that, don't we? When somebody comes at us and says, did you do that? Oh, we come up with, no, it was him. Gosh, look at the things we come up with. Because we're just afraid of not being accepted. We don't want to be wrong. So I suggest as a guide reading the book called Real Love for Wise Men and Women, which is helpful not only in groups, but really helpful just in phone conversations and meeting with your friends in person. Another useful tool in the process of telling the truth and loving is the book Real Love. The Truth About Finding Unconditional Love and Fulfilling Relationships, and that's a book that's published by Penguin nationally. You can get that in any bookstore. It's sometimes hard to start conversations with people that you haven't already had loving conversations with. It's hard to start talking about the principles of real love because, like I say, it's like a foreign language. But it's real easy to share a book with a friend. You say, hey, I've been reading this book. Would you read this book with me? If they read it and throw it against the wall, well, then you learned what you wanted to know, didn't you? They're not interested. But if they read it and say, wow, I've been looking for something like this, you found somebody that you can be truthful with, and that was pretty easy. Do you see? So I can promise you, the more you share what you're learning with other people, the more love you will find, and the more loving you will become. Unavoidable. And I suggest, lastly, that you do it daily. Does anybody here just forget to eat in a day? No, our bodies they remind us that they're hungry. We get those feelings, I'm hungry, and we respond to them. What we tend to ignore is hunger of our souls. Do you know how our souls tell us they're hungry? We don't pay attention to this. They tell us with emptiness and fear. But you know, many of us have been empty and afraid for so long, we don't know those feelings. They're like background noise. But the evidence of our emptiness and fear is easier to spot, and that is our getting and protecting behaviors. If you feel angry, your soul is hungry. See that? If you're acting like a victim, hungry. If you're lying, hungry. Those are all the ways that your spirit has of saying, I need to be fed. So what do? You reach out and find somebody who can love you. Wow. Makes all the difference in the world. So do that every day. We need that nourishment. Just as much as our bodies need to be nourished, so do the rest of us. The effect of real love is absolutely phenomenal. It's like having $20 million all the time. Who here would like to live a life without anger? Gosh, who wouldn't? No anger, no fear, no contention. It's a phenomenal way to live. And I've had long periods without those feelings now. It's not all the time, but it's wonderful. Imagine having the $20 million with you all the time. The cool thing is you pay less for the $20 million than you're paying now for nothing, for imitation love. We pay an awful lot for imitation love, and in the end, we don't have a dang thing. Whereas to get real love, the price is really pretty small. All we have to do is change the currency with which we pay. Instead of paying by trying to please people, instead of lying and attacking and trying to get praise, we simply pay with the currency of faith, the currency of telling the truth, the currency of choosing to give up getting and protecting behaviors and of choosing to unconditionally love others. And in return, we get everything. So to summarize this module, it's genuine happiness that we want, which we can achieve by eliminating emptiness and fear and getting and protecting behaviors. We can eliminate getting and protecting behaviors as we understand what they really mean in ourselves and in others, and as we tell the truth about ourselves and create opportunities to feel seen and unconditionally loved. The process of feeling loved, of loving others and finding happiness is greatly enhanced by exercising faith in the truth, in love, in our partners, and in God. Any situation becomes clearer and we can respond more effectively when we ask the 5 questions. What, why, what. Really simplifies things. Gets rid of the chaff. It gets us down to the wheat, or as we would say in Georgia, it just shucks it down to the cob. 5, we need to tell the truth about ourselves gradually and every day, always looking for opportunities to feel loved and, of course, to share it with others. I have shared the principles of real love with people all over the world, and I'm impressed with the absolutely consistent, positive results experienced by those who diligently apply these principles. People are simply amazed at the genuine, lasting differences they're seeing in their lives, often quite noticeable in a matter of days or weeks. Singles are completely changing the way they see love, falling in love, and dating. Finally, they're finding the kind of partners they've always wanted, and they're learning what it takes to build those relationships in a healthy and lasting way. Married couples are learning how to overcome the wounds and obstacles that have been bleeding the joy out of their relationships. They're learning how to really love one another, and in the process, they're creating a level of happiness they'd never imagined possible. Parents are discovering that raising children who feel loved and who are loving and responsible is so much easier and fruitful than everything else they've tried. Parenting doesn't have to be the stressful and confusing experience that it is for so many of us. We've all experienced so much frustration, irritation, and pain in our lives that we've come to accept it as normal. It does not have to be that way. The bottom line is this: people are eliminating the fear, frustration, and anger from their lives, and instead they're finding peace and real power as they feel unconditionally loved and as they share that real love with others. These people are not unique. You too can learn to find the genuine happiness they have found. As you learn the principles of real love, it's very likely that you'll have many questions. You'll wonder, exactly what does this principle mean? How would I apply that to my husband or my child or on a date? I have seen the results of real love in so many lives and with such consistency that I don't hesitate to make you a promise. If you will dedicate yourself to the pursuit and sharing of real love, you will be rewarded in ways you can scarcely imagine at this point. I know this sounds like a grand claim, but real love has a greater power to change our lives than anything else. By far, it simply works. What would you pay for a sense of absolute peace? For the power to feel happy and undisturbed in the face of any conflict or difficult situation? For the feeling that you are loved without condition, and the ability to share that feeling with those around you? Frankly, we already pay with everything we have, with our very lives, for much less than the positive feelings and qualities I just described. We trade everything we have for conditional approval, for power, and for other things that are pale, shallow imitations of love. Essentially, we give up everything in return for nothing. The price for finding real love is much less than what we're paying now. We only have to learn a few real love principles, and then we will change the way we see and feel about everything. I have counseled with a great number of people from all over the world, and I've seen individuals, couples, and parents spend countless thousands of dollars on individual counseling, group therapy, marriage counseling, and professional help for their children. Singles spend vast sums on internet dating and on the dating process itself. And by way of contrast, I've received thousands of communications now from people who have said that exposure to real love has made all that counseling and professional help completely unnecessary for them. Real love has revolutionized their lives in dating, marriage, parenting, business, and every other aspect of life. I personally know of no more powerful way to begin the journey toward real love than to subscribe to Real Love, and it won't cost thousands of dollars. The monthly cost of subscription is less than the cost of a dinner for two, less than the cost of half an hour of therapy, less than $1 a day. As a physician, I have stood at the bedsides of many people who were close to death, and I can tell you that at the end of our lives, we don't care how much money we have. We don't care how many people we control or how big our house is or how many people we've persuaded to praise us or respect us. What matters to us is how loved we feel and how well we have loved those around us. Don't wait till the end of your life to figure out these pivotal priorities. Decide now that you'll do whatever it takes to find and share real love. As you do that, you will find the happiness you've always wanted as an individual, and you'll be able to participate with far more power and pleasure in all your relationships: dating, marriage, parenting, other family associations, friendships, and in the workplace.
I'd say do it now. You just can't do this stuff soon enough, and the more you practice, there's sometimes a fear because it brings up all of these issues, but when you do it and you make a commitment and you take action, it will transform your life. Are you willing to be happy, and are you willing to do the steps necessary to get you there? Sign up today.
Do it. Stop everything you're doing right now and do it.
Don't hesitate. Jump in. It's just remarkable, and I think so many times we hear from people, you should try this, it'll change your life. And this is, you hear that and then you try something for a couple of weeks and you think, oh, forget about that, and you move on. This is totally different. And this has been 2 years that I've been working on these principles with my marriage, with my kids, in my friendships and relationships, and it's amazing how it can change your life and how you can just become a whole lot more peaceful and happy walking through your days.
Oh, I would encourage it, absolutely. I'm very excited about it. In fact, I can't help but tell people about it. It has changed my life so much that I would encourage everybody to jump in head first and do as much of it as they can, because the results are phenomenal.
If someone were considering learning more about real love, I would think that it would be the greatest gift that they could give to themselves and to everyone that's in their life. Not only will they enrich their happiness, the happiness of everyone else will increase tremendously. It's one of the best things that they could ever do.
I'd recommend it for anybody, no matter what stage. I mean, whether you're a young person, a middle-aged, or an older person like I am, there's always ways that you can learn more and not shut yourself up and be open to new things. It's really great.
Do it, hurry. Go and seek it out, because I look at the age that I am, and I certainly wish that I had known of it sooner and could have practiced more of it. I think it would have saved me a lot of heartache and possibly saved my marriage.
Drop everything you're doing and get involved. Talk to a friend, read the book, call someone that's read the book, get to a seminar, and get involved. It's that important.
Never be satisfied with just getting along in life. Don't just survive, as most people do. Don't be satisfied with any more superficial or unproductive relationships. Instead, take this opportunity to subscribe to Real Love and find the unconditional love and fulfilling relationships you've always wanted. You'll be grateful for the rest of your life that you took this step. Remember, it's always about real love.